Grant, so we're just here at the Milo Play Zone in Birkenhead, Auckland, and just wanting to pick your brains and get some thoughts on play and how it's going with kids in New Zealand these days.
The Milo State of Play research really showed that surprisingly about half of kids don't play every day, and we were a little bit surprised by that. In some ways we were surprised, but in other ways it backs up a lot of the other research that we've been doing. And I think that really the standout finding from kids' physical activity, kids' movement, kids' play is that they accumulate most of their movement in some fairly discrete periods during the week, which give you a lot of clues about where they could be active. So kids are 30% less active on the weekends on average, and that's the same as most other countries, which, as most of us as ex-children, we go, well, how did that happen? How did kids suddenly become a lot less active when they've got the most opportunity to be active? And I think the clue is when you look at where they do accumulate activity, and it's at school, and it's in a couple of discrete periods, recess and lunch, and that's when there's usually unstructured play and they're free to go about moving about on their own terms with their own rules. And when they do that, they just accumulate heaps and heaps and heaps of movement. And that seems to have disappeared from half of Kiwi kids' lives.
So has that changed a lot in the last 25 years, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've had this situation where good parenting's been redefined as doing more, and it's really interesting that we've started to get into a situation where getting your kids to and from organised activities, especially sport and other similar type things, is what most of us do. And that's cool, those have benefits, but in a context where lack of time is our major problem both for adults and children, it's sort of weird because it takes a long time to get in your car, drive somewhere, go about the organised activity, drive back. It's a lot of opportunity for just going outside and playing. Lost.
Long term, does this have sort of wider implications in society?
I think there's a couple of things you could think about. The obvious one is, and I think most people would know, that physical movement is good for kids' physical development. There's a no-brainer there. But what was the two other ones which I think are, one's probably fairly obvious to most people, is social development is really good in unstructured situations, free of parents, because kids negotiate their own terms and their own way through that sort of environment, and that's really important. Building on that though is this idea that play which has some risk and adventure on their own terms, it's really important for their frontal lobes, and the frontal lobes in human brains, they manage our emotion and they manage our risk, and there's really a good idea that you need risk and adventure for that part of the brain to develop, and you're going to get it somewhere, and my preference is up a tree at 8 or in unstructured play, rather than behind the wheel of a car when you're 18.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So that's really where I think the major benefits are.
Have we gotten to the point as a society where we need to stop and actually teach these kids how to get out there and do it again, or are they still equipped with that basic?
Oh yeah, I mean every kid's equipped to play, and they want to play. That's the other finding of this Milo Play research, is that in actual fact kids want it, parents want it, but the world's changed a bit, and we have to just redefine the way we think about getting kids active. Like you chuck them out here, today's a good example. There's no real rules, you just off you go.
Yeah.
They're quite happy. Yeah.
Technology's not going anywhere, it's in all of our homes.
Yeah.
Are there ways we can integrate this, maybe initially to grab the kids' attention?
Yeah, I mean there's a lot about that, and you hear a lot about active video games, and we've done quite a bit of work in that area. I mean the reality is kids prefer to play outside than play video games and watch TV. And so just turn it off, or tell them it's broken. We did that for 6 months, just told them the TV was broken. It actually just wasn't plugged in. It still works, but just told them it didn't work.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
So what about the differences between boys and girls? Are there any intrinsic differences in what they need to play? Or?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go too far with animal research, but boys in every species tend to want to engage in rough and tumble play, and that includes human boys. So girls to a certain extent do that, but boys much more. It's a natural activity to have a bit of rough and tumble and wrestle. Dads and mums can do that as well. No one's going to get hurt, but it's just a nice way of learning about interacting with other people. Girls don't want to do that so much. They want they can benefit much more from the social aspects of negotiating their way through the complexities of eventually being a woman.
So now that we've brought up parents and caregivers getting involved in play, how do they fit in with trying to get kids back to active play? Do we as parents need to be there sort of helicopter parenting, or do we just need to step back and let them go for it?
That's an interesting idea, isn't it? The idea that you're sort of hovering around doing stuff. Well, I mean, if you want to get outside and play, personally I quite like doing that. It's cool fun. It's good activity too. I like throwing balls and kicking balls. I'm actually fairly hopeless at it, but that gives the kids an opportunity to have a good laugh. But you don't have to. I mean, you can go inside and sit down and open a bottle of Chardonnay. That's fine. That's an appropriate strategy that you shouldn't feel guilty about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just finally, because a lot of us, and I'd say in both Australia and New Zealand, are tending towards these more structured activities and having a very full calendar for our kids. Where do the team sports and the regularly scheduled activities fit in, and do they have a place?
Oh, sport's great because it teaches people about outcomes, competition, and I think that's good, and we've sort of forgotten about that, especially in New Zealand primary schools, are sort of everyone's a winner and everyone gets an A. And actually the world doesn't always work like that. At the same time, actually, as you move through intermediate school and high school, it's a great time to get into competitive sport. Primary school, just learn some skills, get active, and more than anything else, you're probably going to be better at your sport as you go through teenage anyway. So team sport's good, whole lot of good things, but get into it with a passion as you get into teenage years.
Great, that's it. Thanks so much, Grant.
Cool.
Enjoy the day with your boys.
Yeah, it's fun.